as well give up. I'm
Invincible, the talk of the town. I swear, I cannot scroll on my Instagram without seeing Invincible content. It is just it's just popping right now. But anyway, that's besides the point. Me and my friend had a discussion about Invincible and how vincible he is and how invincible he is. My friend made a point saying Invincible is not really invincible since he constantly gets beat up all the time. And I said he's invincible because he overcomes all of that. Instead of getting beaten up all the time, he actually comes back every single time, meaning that his will is invincible, not so much his physical attributes. My friend and I would then go back and forth before we decided to go to the Invincible versus Conquest rematch, which is a fight I brought up because I wanted to prove my point using this fight. And I wanted to show my friend that Mark is not vincible, but he's indeed. Now, this video is obviously going to contain spoilers for Invincible Season 4 Episode 5, so if you haven't watched that, click off now. Let me give you a couple seconds. Alright, I also want to give a warning to anybody who gets queasy, because this next part is going to be quite violent. So, yeah, let's get into it. Now, before we get into the absolute peak, that is the last couple of minutes of this episode, I just have to give this episode its praise. It's handled so well, like Nolan and Debbie's relationship, or lack thereof, is handled really well. Because I heard in the comics that Debbie and Nolan essentially forgive each other almost instantly, and that I find is really crazy considering that this man committed mass, well, genocide. That's really insane, but I kind of like how this was a very painful interaction for both Nolan and Debbie, and it was really crazy seeing how Nolan just had the reality of his actions just crash on top of him in real time. Hey, but enough about Nolan. Let's get into the hands. Now it starts with Mark and Conquest just spiraling down to the ground, and as you can see by this fight, Mark has his hands firmly gripped around this man's throat the entirety of the fight. He clearly just intends on strangling this man to death. I just want you to keep your eyes on that detail. Now, choking is something that's very dangerous and very lethal. Choking someone within 7 to 10 seconds within it happening can result in them losing cognitive thinking. And this is dangerous because cognitive thinking is essentially what processes information, stuff like your thinking and your problem solving. I want you to keep that in mind. Mark is essentially choking the life out of Conquest, and Conquest is slamming my boy up on the ground trying to get him off, and it's clearly not working. Now, a very important detail here is that my friend was like, why couldn't Conquest just break Mark's arm? Now, keep in mind, Conquest is trying to pull Mark's arm off of his neck, and he cannot take his arm off. It takes upwards of 4,000 newtons to break a human elbow. Now, Mark is not quite a human. He's also Viltrumite. So let's times that by 4. Let's say instead of like 4,000 newtons of force, it takes maybe 160,000 newtons of force to break an elbow. Now, keep in mind, not saying Conquest cannot exert that amount of force. It's that it's very difficult because Mark has his hands on his neck. When you restrict blood flow and air supply to the brain, this results in loss of strength. Now, Viltrumites can hold their breaths for weeks, so obviously Conquest still has a bit left to go. He has a gas in the tank, but as you can see, nothing is working. He's trying to pull him, he's trying to slam him, it's not working. So he then solves his problem, well, tries to solve his problem, by punching Mark repeatedly over and over. And these blows alternate. They go to the chest, they go to the sternum, they go to the ribs, and he even lands a couple in the face because he's trying for him to let go. He's even trying to pull himself back, but that's not working. Mark still has his hand firmly gripped against Conquest's throat, and he's still punching him, and it's not working. Conquest realizes it's not working, so he then lifts him up and then proceeds to fly. Now, Conquest is trying something new here because he realizes, oh crap, this man is not going to let go even if I keep punching him. How about if I fly, crash him around, and then proceed to still keep on punching him? And, this results in Mark taking hella damage with him still not letting go. Like, that's actually insane. Look at this. This man is slamming him around. He's just doing all that he can to get him off, slamming him through here, making formations in the land, changing the whole terrain just to get this man off of his neck. And he is punching him a lot. Now, by the look on Conquest's face, he realizes that this man is much stronger than he was the first time around when they fought. And Conquest has this really bad habit. I want you to keep this in mind as well. This is point number 2 of drawing out his fights. Conquest is somebody who never exactly has, how do I say it? He never exactly loses a fight. This guy has won many fights, conquested many planets, no pun intended, and has survived many things. Ragnar's and even the Scourge virus, a virus specifically bioengineered to kill Viltrumites. And that requires a very intricate understanding of the Viltrumite anatomy. And it was done by the Betrayer, aka TARDIS. So yes, let's keep on observing. Conquest is flying through. He's slamming Mark. He's trying to punch him. He's not working. He realizes, okay, this is getting serious. Now, at this point, Conquest is realizing this is a completely different beast. This is not the same guy. His face is starting to turn purple. He's still punching him. Now, keep in mind, these punches here, even though they do look painful, which they are, these punches are losing power. Because I did my own research and I came up with exactly the exact result of what I was thinking when I was arguing this with my friend. If you were to choke someone and that person were to continuously punch you and you were to still choke them, eventually those punches with every blow will become weaker than the last, because the cutoff of oxygen and blood supply to the brain is going to make it weaker. The brain is connected to the central nervous system. This is going to make it much more difficult for you to essentially do a very powerful blow when you're losing oxygen and blood flow so rapidly, or it's being restricted, and the grip is only tightening and not loosening. He's still going through the landscape. He's still trying to slam him. Blood is going to his eyes. His face looks like a grape at this point. Look, he tries to palm this man's face while also trying to pull his hand off. At this point, he realizes, oh crap, this is serious. And he tries to go put his hand on his face, potentially for an eye gouge is what I was thinking. And it's not working. As you can see here, Mark just, oh my gosh, he just bites this man's entire finger off like a pork sausage. Right in front of his face, by the way, which causes Conquest to go back, while this man is still choking him. Now, an important detail is that Mark flies up into the sky while this is happening, and his body is exposed. Just remember that. So Mark looks him dead in his eyes, spits that pork sausage out of his mouth, while still choking this man. Conquest adjusts himself, and oh my lord, he uses that karate chop formation. If you know anything about that, you know this move is extremely deadly. And he, oh my gosh, he impales this man through the stomach. Now, my friend did make a valid point here. He was like, okay, if Conquest didn't have enough strength to break his arm, how did he have enough strength here to pierce him through his stomach? And now there are 3 reasons why. 1, the reason why Conquest is able to pierce Mark's stomach is because 1, he had to readjust himself. That is why he could have pierced his stomach. 2, he mustered up his remaining strength reserves because he intended to end this fight in one decisive blow. 3, Mark was hoisted off of the ground. Mark wasn't grounded and his body was exposed. If I were to punch you in your stomach and you weren't anticipating the blow, it would hurt universally more than if you were to anticipate the said blow. It would hurt way more if it was unexpected because you're not anticipating. Mark's body is not being protected. He's not focused on protecting his body. He's focused on choking him out. This results in him getting impaled, which is really painful. On Conquest here, he grins thinking, okay, well, yeah, I have the upper hand. Like, look at his face. He's like, okay, I have the upper hand still. And he doesn't have the upper hand. This results in Mark choking him out even further and Conquest stumbling back. At this point, his hypothalamus is shutting down. That's responsible for your equilibrium. And we know when Viltrumite's equilibrium is messed up, they can't do anything. Essentially, being able to walk and fly, they can't really do that. And we've seen that when Cecil used the high frequency weakness against Mark. This caused him to stumble back, and Conquest is completely out of options. His hypothalamus is down, so he can't fly and he can't hoist Mark up. He cannot use his strength reserves because he is completely out of strength at this point. His strength is gone. He can't punch Mark because these punches will do nothing. He's desperate. He's going to pass and he needs to do something. So out of pure desperation, Conquest proceeds to, how can I describe this without getting struck by YouTube? He pulls the rope out of his stomach continuously to try to get him to let go so he can regain his breath. And this is something that is sort of working, but Mark isn't exactly letting up, so it's not working. This causes Mark to tighten his grip and still finish the job on Conquest. And I want you to get this in right here. Mark didn't just win this fight because he was stronger or faster or more durable. Mark won this fight because he's